During the last bear market, we saw a few coins performing more poorly than Algorand, but in the last few days, we've seen Algorand bursting up around 25 to 30%. Is this just the start of something massive on the horizon for Algorand? In this video, I'm going to break down everything about what Algorand is and why you need to be paying attention right now. I'll also give you my price prediction towards the end of this video and whether or not I'm going to be investing in Algorand right now. Hit the like button and let's get into it. Now guys, as you can see, jumping into the Algorand chart, this has been a very damaging time for Algorand, sliding further and further towards the downside. But as you look into the price chart right now, we've seen it bursting all the way up here, seeing nearly a 30% move since about 10 days ago. And given that we just broken this downtrend, and if we look at similar charts later on, things are looking quite exciting for Algorand indeed. So what is Algorand and why do we need to be paying close attention to it? As well as that, what is happening in Algorand right now that could be changing the tides when it comes to the price? Well, if you go across the Algorand website, they'll tell you that it's the world's most powerful and sustainable blockchain. And this isn't far away from the truth, it seems. Now, if you subscribe to the channel or you've been in crypto for any sort of time, then you probably would have seen this, which is the blockchain trilemma. Now, when we first saw the development of Ethereum, we knew that there was some big issues. Yes, it's now become extremely decentralized, but it still struggles with its scalability. You then go and look at Solana, which has scalability in spades, but then is starting to struggle a bit with decentralization. It's been always very difficult for layer 1 blockchains to achieve all three of these. However, Algorand might have been the first to do this effectively. First of all, you look at Algorand in terms of its costs. When you look at where it fits on this particular scale, you'll see that it's around 20,000 times cheaper than Ethereum per transaction, sitting just above Solana. This is important, but it was also able to achieve extremely fast speeds, which was previously sat at around 6,000 transactions per second. We now see them being able to achieve up towards 50,000 transactions per second with the introduction of pipelining and instant finality. This is a very positive move for Algorand, and you can see we'll be gaining more attention from the crypto community. Now you're thinking, yeah, there's a few other layer 1s that operate like this. But how about the security? Well, Algorand works very differently from other blockchains in that it uses a randomness generator. So instead of having to stake tokens to secure the network like you do on coins like Cardano, Solana, and Ethereum, you can just hold Algorand tokens and then you're able to act as a validator without having to stake tokens at all. And the way this works is very different from others in terms of blockchain technology because it uses a randomness generator, which means that individuals are selected completely at random in order to validate the network. Now, this is really important because it doesn't leave a line of breadcrumbs to where the next validator is going to come from. This means it's almost impossible for hackers to come in and access the network because they have no idea where the next validation is going to take place. And it's this randomness input consensus that allows Algorand to basically complete the biggest mission in layer 1 technology, and that is to solve the blockchain trilemma. Now, another very important thing about Algorand is it is extremely green. And you know, in the past, we've probably seen things about Bitcoin and Ethereum and others and problems with the environment from using these particular pieces of tech. As you can see from here, Algorand is basically the cleanest of all the blockchains out there. Why is this important? Well, in a day and age where you're seeing most of the world powers starting to push towards green energy and to all try and become carbon neutral, they're putting an emphasis on the companies that operate within their countries to encourage them to go green. This is very powerful because Algorand is a green company and therefore invites a lot of big money to come and invest into Algorand. This enables those big companies that are investing in Algorand to fulfill their promise to become more green, and you can see how that all works. So as you can see from the green initiative point of view, Algorand gets another big tick here. Now, I know many of you may have looked into Algorand before, but it's important whenever you're looking at a new crypto project to just go through and check out the team. Now, Algorand, again, outperforms most other cryptos when you go and look at the team. Silvio Micali is the founder. He's an Italian computer scientist who is a professor at MIT in the US. He's also a Turing Award and Gödel Prize winner, which is some of the most respected accolades in the entire industry. And it's this reputation, along with Algorand, that he's built that's allowed him to accrue a team of some of the most talented people in crypto. Now, one last thing that's probably getting the hearts racing of most Algorand investors right now and getting people excited about the price moving towards the upside, and what really caused it is this. Ever since Algorand was first launched, it's seen a heavy unlock period where the team have regularly sold tokens back into the market in order to fund the project. Now, through a bear market, this happens more readily because the teams are obviously much poorer, but the development needs to go on. Algorand has been developing heavily through this period of time, and you've seen that development taking place in places like India and France and lots of other areas around the world where they're teaming up with governments to be able to deliver blockchain solutions. Now, as the development keeps going, and the companies don't make a huge amount of money through the bear market, they're selling off tokens to pay people's wages, doing all these different bits and pieces that you might just think are kind of standard. But this needs to happen. And this is why the pressure gets put on through a bear market significantly harder than it does in other companies. However, what we've just come to the end of, which is why we're starting to see it pushing the price right now, is this major sell-off. There is potential for sell-off coming in the future, but we will talk about that in the next part of the video, where we look at the potential cons that are holding us back from Algorand. So Algorand right now seems like a very exciting potential project for the future. But before we go and throw all our money into Algorand, we need to consider the potential downsides, of which there's some major ones for Algorand. But before we do that, I want to talk about De.fi, which is currently in a pre-sale. Now, when this project approached me, I was skeptical until I started to learn that individuals such as CZ from Binance, Andrew Kang, and others had been tweeting about them. I realized that their early investors were the same companies behind the funding from SpaceX and Tesla, which was another big thing for me. I could then see that they had a hugely transparent team with lots of other information. These were all big ticks, so I looked into more about what they did, and I could see that they had over 3 million active users, hoping to move towards 10 million active users during the bull market. They're basically looking to solve a problem, and that's onboarding people into Web3. It's an extremely difficult and challenging place, particularly as a new crypto investor, where many individuals are going out there and getting scammed. One of the main aspects of De.fi, and something they're most proud of, is their scanners and their shields, which allow you to scan smart contracts before going and purchasing any crypto project. This protects individuals from losing large amounts of cash in scams. They also offer the opportunity for you to safely explore yield farming. They have tools that interact with ChatGPT in order to go and learn more about different crypto projects. They have an excellent UI dashboard. They create an environment to connect with other crypto users around the world, and many other different things. And by coming across, you can find out more about this particular super app by going through all of these different areas, like, for example, looking at the scanner and how it all works. And this has already been running on De.fi, and you can go and check that out after this video. They're introducing a future where you'll be able to use a bank card and use your cryptocurrency there. You can go and interact with NFTs and so much more. And one thing I always look at when I'm looking at new crypto projects I'm potentially interested in is to go across to their roadmap. And as you can see from this roadmap, there is a huge amount they've been working on and so much more coming in the future. We want to have lots of things coming in the future in a project that we're looking potentially to invest in, because then we've got things that might be catalysts for a big boost in future pricing. I also want to see that they have partnerships established already with exchanges like Binance, because we know in the past when Binance announces a new listing, then you can often see big growth in the price. And then I look into the angel investors and you can see some of the biggest names in cryptocurrency from some of the biggest companies going. Now, if you're interested, I highly recommend you come through that link down below, because that's going to bring you across to this page where you can learn all the information I've just been talking about. Now, they are in a pre-sale right now, which does allow us as potential investors, if we've done our research and we think that it's a good project, to invest. Now, obviously, don't take my word for it, guys. Go and do your research. I'm not responsible. You and only you are responsible for investing your own money. Now, what they have going on right now is their pre-sale, and you can see that the price is incrementally increasing all the time. So in order to lock in the best price, obviously the earlier you get in, the better. Now, here you can choose between either 4 months daily linear vesting, where you'll have a lockup period, or you can go for 10% more expensive, where you'll get 30% unlock a token generation event. Now, this is no bad thing as an early investor, because having a vesting period keeps people locked up and stops them from dumping coins and therefore driving the price down. If anything, it's positive and is more likely to see the price rallying towards the upside if people are locked into it. Now, all I needed to do to be able to buy tokens is just connect my MetaMask, select the chain for the MetaMask that I want to use, and you can use all of these different ones from Polygon to Optimism, and then you can select how much you want to buy in whatever token you choose. I'm going to use USDT on the Ethereum chain, and I'm going to click $150, and then I can select buy now. You can see I get a 4-month vesting period for $0.29. Once I've confirmed that through my MetaMask, the sale will go through and the tokens will appear upon the token generation event in the future. So back to Algorand. Everything appears really rosy, everything appears very exciting, but there's a few issues we need to talk about. Algorand right now is making less than around $5,000 in revenue per month. That's not very good for a project at this size, especially one that costs this much to run with a team that big. And as you can see right now, looking into the website, there's only around 9 transactions per second that are being used, and really the activity happening on chain right now is very low when you compare that to like Solana's, the Ethereums, and even the likes of HBAR. So if it's such a great bit of kit, why is that? or potentially in the past they haven't done a great job of marketing and they haven't done such a good job of building these relationships with larger scale companies. And this is important because if we think about other companies out there like HBAR and Solana and everyone else, we know that these particular companies have a huge backlog of companies that they're planning on working with in the future. And this is something that will drive the project forward. I think Algorand really needs to focus more on this kind of development side of things and really work towards more their business development more than just the tech. Also something to consider, they do have a huge amount of investment from venture capital funds, which still will need unlocking. While the team have finished their unlocking period, there is vesting periods like we've just been talking about in De.fi that will need to be unlocked at some point soon. Now that could be potentially worrisome as an investor because you would argue that as the price is starting to rally towards the upside, that they will be starting to take money out of it. However, during a bear market, this is particularly evident as the market cap shrinks in size. But if the market cap grows and swells in size because of a bunch of retail investors and other investors coming in from large financial institutions, then that's definitely something that's going to support the price going up. And then you probably won't notice that much people taking their money out as it goes. Because ultimately this is going to happen across every crypto project that you're looking at because they were all invested in early by some big money investors. Something else that's caused this big slump towards the downside in the Algorand price was the fact that the SEC in the US was looking into Algorand as being a potential security. However, as you look into XRP right now, which we're starting to see growing towards the upside again, which is obviously the one that everyone's been talking about with regards to the battle with the SEC, you would argue that perhaps these days of trying to throw people out the market during the bottom of the bear market, which is all I thought that was anyway, is probably over and something we don't have to worry about too much. But it's definitely there in the back of my mind. So before we look at a price prediction, to summarize, Algorand is working on some really cool stuff. They're starting to make a few good partnerships, but they really need to up their game. In terms of the tech and the ability to perform the roles that it's trying to do, Algorand competes and outperforms most of its other competitors. But since I'm heavily invested in Solana as well as Cosmos, I do already have my exposure to the layer ones that are out there. Therefore, I don't see a huge amount of need to be investing in Algorand right now, but in the short term, we could see a decent play from this. Now, as you look into this chart, you can see that unlike other cryptos that did see an earlier on pump in the beginning of the year and then sort of sustain themselves around this level to then be building again, Algorand continued to slide aggressively towards the downside. This has meant that Algorand is heavily undervalued in my opinion compared with some others there. We're also, after seeing this tail end slide, we have seen a nice break beyond. Now this is in stark contrast to Solana, which if you were watching videos earlier on this year with me because you were subscribed, then you would have made maybe some smarter decisions and you would have also caught this kind of like 400% move that we've seen going on here. That will allow you to start taking profits in areas where we start to run into this area of resistance on Solana. We might see sort of topping out here around $46 to $48 before maybe a little bit of a pullback to move across into coins like Algorand. Now, as we look at Gala token, you'll see that Gala has seen a very similar pattern to what's been going on in Algorand as well, and is seeing a much more aggressive push here than in what we've seen in Algorand. I do think that these undervalued coins are good for a good few percentage returns. And realistically in Algorand, I can see us being able to push if Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market starts to get more aggressive towards these sort of levels, maybe even by the end of the year. That would see an early growth of around 115% to maybe even, if times go well, around 160 to 170%. And right now, being 2 months away from the end of the year, maybe seeing 160 to 180% could be a good thing, although that's obviously not guaranteed. Now, whether or not we see all-time high prices for Algorand, you would have to argue that there's maybe a case that we won't, because there's been a huge amount of unlock that's been going on in that period. Although that unlock was also going on through this area as well. We're also going to have to imagine that Algorand, with the tech and stuff behind it, is going to drive more retail investment coming into the future, and potentially the relationship with some big names going forward could also boost that price as well. I think they really need to work towards their marketing and driving this project into some big relationships if they're going to see any hope of reaching back towards these all-time highs, which does come at around a 30x. If we see something like a 30x from the bottom of the market, then for a coin of this size, you will have to argue that it's probably one of the better risk to rewards going, but obviously there's a few things to consider. Let me know down below whether or not you are investing in Algorand, what's your price target to be getting out at, and all of that good stuff. If you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel and you haven't, and you want to be getting in before these pumps, then make sure you're subscribed, and then you'll get in now, rather than getting in after everyone else has bought it and after everyone else is taking profits, like I'm starting to take profits in Solana. And as well, make sure you give me a follow over on Twitter where I'm breaking down in far more detail different projects. Like recently, this one I did on Render, which shares a great more amount of detail into the tech behind Render, but in a form that's easy to understand, even if you're a non-technical person. And I'll also give you a price prediction at the bottom. Twitter is linked down below in the description. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.